Super. And if everything went well, we should be live. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Everything Outside Code, where I talk to a fantastic creator, I'd say, a founder, a builder. And in this case, we have Lasse Flagstad. I don't know
Yeah,
if I said
that,
it
that was good.
correctly. That
Yeah,
was
it was
good. Anyways, man, welcome to the show today. We have Lasse.
thanks for having me. Will.
Yeah, great. Lasse is the COO of Buro Ventures. And today we're going to be talking about how to use, if you're really using AI in sales. There's a lot of AI going around. But before that, we always had automation, right? So we're going to be diving into growth, GTM, especially for startups and founders that are looking to go to market. That's what you typically expect on episodes like this. So we'll just get right to it, to the man of the moment, Lasse. How's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Sitting in Argentina during this time, as we talked about just before getting on. Like it's one of these times where I'm actually a little bit jealous of you guys back in Norway, given the time of year.
Yeah.
But things are going nice here, and I'm getting used to the time zone. Like I like the fact that I'm sitting here in the morning and getting like all of the calls done right now, so that I have my time free in the afternoons. But
Yeah.
all cool. Sitting and cooking up some nice prompts and some nice AI processes as always for B2B sales.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, the thought of prompts and processes. I guess I don't know if there's like a show or something around called prompts and processes, but if there isn't, you probably could put one together. Um, because definitely I've seen quite a number of prompts out there that help you get the most out of models, and also because the prompts that worked a year ago probably now they're like obsolete or they're just too expensive. You'd have to make
Uh,
them better. What you think?
yeah, you could say that they're expensive, but I would rather go the other way, which is that for every quarter that goes, the models become better and they become cheaper in general,
Hmm.
meaning the prompts that we were using a year ago, at least if I look at my stack of things that I've been using, then they're just way more basic because you couldn't run the same complexity to a prompt
Yep.
a year ago that you can do right now, or not a prompt, but to a model. And I think
Hmm.
the biggest game changer here is the evolution of thinking models from last year. Because with thinking models, you just have like you can go so much more into detail and still get all of the context really like processed. And the coolest one right now, which is just grinding me up every time that I sit with any type of language model, is GPT's like O4 mini and O3
Hmm.
for that sake as well. It has the same functionality. It's just you can use more of O4 mini at a cheaper rate. So I just use that. And the reason why is just the evolution from where we were at 6 months ago is just insane because the thing that it can do, which people don't talk about, it's one of the things where people on LinkedIn, when I share it, go the most crazy as well because they don't know it, is that you can have it think and then search and then think again based on the searches that it finds and then search again think. Like you can make it go and repeat its own chain of thought and thereby searches like over and over. I remember like
Hmm.
one of the best examples that I gave for this, or that I've given to my friends who haven't gone into it, is that like for the sake of how powerful this is, I was in Brazil last month and I played paddle and I was at this new paddle club that I had never been to. And when
Hmm.
I go to new places, I try to like get to know people, like their names. I take notes in my Apple Notes and stuff, just so that I become someone that they actually recognize and like further down the line. And this guy that I met when I played paddle, I got like a tiny bit of information about him. I got that his name was, I thought it was like Rodrigo or something like that in Brazil. Turns out
Yeah.
I was wrong about the name, first of all. And I
Okay.
remember that he said that he was an ex footballer. He was from Florianopolis, the place I was in, and he played in Portugal, in Braga, the club, and he also played a
Yeah.
little bit in Greece. I'm getting to the point here now. I'm going on a long tangent. But point being that I opened up ChatGPT and I used O4 Mini. And I just explained, I remember this guy, I think his name is Rodrigo, plays football. He did so in Braga. He did so in some Greek club, but I can't remember his name for sure. Can you try to find this guy? And then the thinking model starts searching up like the paddle club, figures out that it can't extract who it is of the founders from the paddle club, starts searching up football players from Florianopolis who's played in Braga, who's also played in Greece,
In
and starts
Greece.
matching people. And it starts like thinking back and forth. Okay, this didn't this wasn't correct. What about like this scenario? Can I then search for this thing? And then it looks at what it finds, and it goes back thinking, searching, thinking, searching, and it comes back to me and
Mm-hmm.
tells this guy's name is not Rodrigo, it's Claudio, something like that. And
Wow.
I'm searching
Yeah.
him up, and I go like, shit, it is Claudio. Like I was just wrong. His name is Rodrigo, and the model figured out what his name was. Like it figured out who it was without me like even giving it the right first name.
Yeah.
Like and that's just, if you think of that in a B2B and sales perspective, what can you then do with it in terms of your own research processes, in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like your own copywriting, in terms of your own sales? Like I'm using it mainly now for just sales preps to do research on people. Like
Yeah.
that's where I've gotten the biggest ROI the past months at least.
Aha. People research. So I didn't know this was possible at least now, because at least I haven't tried. I've been hiring quite a number of people lately, like looking to hire. And one thing that's been missing has been finding great people. uh,
Mm.
Beyond what you see on LinkedIn or on X, on Twitter, for instance. I want to see if they are just great people in the community, or do they like, are they like a nuisance? Have they shown up in a local newspaper for something? But I guess with AI, I'll be able to find this. But I'm curious to your own evolution, Lasse. How'd you get here? How'd you get to Buro Ventures? How'd you start?
Oh, sure. Also, this point in age, like it's 5 years ago since I started
Mhm.
working with anything like digital. My like hero's journey or whatever that you call it is that I started studying in university. I did so for 3 weeks, and I got too impatient to do it for any
Yeah.
longer. So I went out of it. I got in touch with the guy that I work with today, Harold, his name is, and I started learning from him to start off with. Instead of going to uni, I just thought, okay, let me work for free here and kind of do like an internship for like six
Hmm.
months. And then I did so. I gathered like some basic skills and knowledge during that time. And then I've been building different sorts of processes, different sorts of businesses together with Harold since then. And then we've been doing anything from like we started with B2B marketing, went into some B2C info products over time, and then
Hmm.
now we're back into B2B marketing and sales, like more so GTM, like go to market, but also where like now in the age that we're in, Harold has learned how to use cursor in a good sense. So now we as two people who don't know a word of code are starting to build software for the processes that we knew from him beforehand.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what has led me here.
That's amazing. So, and what's your role? I mean, COO. What does a COO do in this case?
Uh, well, it's more accurate to describe that a year ago we had a team of 12, 13 people or so, mainly
Hmm.
like sales operations and some like some development and some delivery. And then I was like more so the glue. So it was more accurate to call me a COO at the time. And then
Yeah.
possibly you could say I've just not really updated any of my like role descriptions since then, because a
Yeah.
year ago, uh, like as a result of several things, among them that our current business model wasn't working B2C wise, we stripped down the team like from 13 essentially down to just me and Harold. Yeah, so just two people.
Okay.
And thought that we don't really want to build any like large teams right now. We want to leverage AI in a greater sense. So
Okay.
right now you can call me COO, but I don't really know. Like in a team, like in small companies with sub 5 employees, I don't really think you have a CEO, a COO, a CMO. You just have like a founder
People.
or a co-founder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people who do
Doing
shit
stuff.
like operators. Because it's like
Yeah. Just
I read this on LinkedIn the other day that people talk about like hiring a CMO as their first hire when they're like 2 or 3 employees, and it's so stupid because if you hire a proper CMO, they haven't done stuff for years. Like they
yeah.
have just actually been managing people who do stuff. You need some of these people who actually do stuff, and then it's just a matter of like, what do you call that role? What do you call that person?
Yeah. I think so too. I think before someone is a chief, there has to be
Yeah.
people. You cannot be a chief of yourself, right?
Mm,
Even like a CEO, if it's just you, I'd rather just stick to the term founder and
mm,
just keep dagly leaded
mm,
as here. Just be the leader, be the daily leader, and that's it. Um,
mm,
so I'm curious. You said you did strip the team down, or at least trimmed
mm.
the team, and then decided to scale with like AI and use like what's available now. How's that going? What are some of the upsides or downsides that you've seen?
I think the biggest upside is that, again, to put it into context, our sales operation before we stripped down the team was that we had like around 20,000 leads that we had generated over time, like B2C leads, where I had an operation where we had humans calling them. So I needed to operate people that were calling these people. I had
Mm-hmm.
people who were selling to these people. I had people who were delivering to these people. Like essentially, like I was a chief operating officer at that point. So the description
Yeah,
was correct in
it was
terms of like I
accurate.
was just doing managing. And the difference now and what I like about it is that we went down and looked at how do we set up the funnel, because essentially any business is just a funnel and a delivery funnel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we said, how do we set up the sales funnel to be made in a way where it doesn't require more human effort than just me doing a few calls or like me doing a few messages that comes in here and there, but still producing like similarly like the same outputs. So that just changes the fundamentals for how you think, because if you generate leads and you need to sell them, you can sell them at this day and age in a lot of different ways than just calling them physically. Like right now, we haven't really tapped into it, but we've been looking at just these AI dialers to do some
Mm-hmm.
more calls. But primarily, we've been doing just more organic posting since then. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've just been doubling down on the stuff that we share and having leads come that way. That still opens up the door that there are leads that needs to be talked with, and I'll be the
Mm-hmm.
first one to admit that we are quite bad at that. Like in my inbox right now, I have across my profiles like 6 or 7 thousand people that I haven't replied to who are asking
Wow.
about like our stuff,
Yeah.
and that sounds very cool in itself because you think that there are six or seven thousand
So
people
that's
that
a
want to
nice
buy your
problem
stuff.
to have.
It it
Yeah.
it, it is at some point, but like if you haven't answered them in a few months, then they don't really care about you anymore. Like to some extent, so it's not
True.
as nice as it sounds like, but
Yeah.
still, the if you have that problem and you're doing everything over text, for example, from organic,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that we've built now, which we're launching out, is again, this is built 100% without code from our end. It's a system where we're like answering all of these messages through LinkedIn automatically because we're just
Okay.
connected up to software that has like the standard LinkedIn outbound software that can send
Yeah.
messages. You have some of them where you can do API accesses now to actually send messages as well. So
Okay.
we've connected up to them, built on top of those, and built our own just prompt systems on the back end so that things can go on autopilot now. So we'll be running that now when we take vacation in July, basically. And then
Yeah.
if you take a bird's eye view then of the process that we had before we stripped down the team and the process that we have now, then before we stripped down the team, there needed to be like 3-4 people that were working full time on calling like several
Mm-hmm.
thousand people, calling several hundred people every day. While
Mm-hmm.
now we've structured it in a way where we have still like many thousand people that we talk with, but everything is just automated with like our prompts on the back end.
Yeah.
Of course, it doesn't look like that from the leads perspective, and I'm quite vocal about it. So like a
Yeah.
lot of people will know or will sit and like wonder whether it's actually Lasse answering or whether it is just like some agent.
Yeah.
But that's like it's a key difference, and I really like that team setup because I felt like this is just a personal preference, but I don't really get that drive anymore from getting up at 8 in the morning and doing like a team meeting with 10 people to try to like motivate people
Motivate
like
them.
on a daily.
Yeah.
I like the idea of these like just solo founder companies that come up that is built
Yeah.
on like code or no code in or it is
Hmm.
code now since we're using Cursor, but still without code experience from our end. Like I like that model, so I want to go in that direction, and
Yeah.
that's essentially what dragged me down into the rabbit hole that we're in right now.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting how you say that you're able to automate LinkedIn outreach, not just on the sending messages and putting up sequences, but also
Mm,
responding to messages that come as like replies, and they are not automated, or rather they're not just generic messages, but they're also
yeah.
tailored to the question. So you have some sort of what people will call an agent. Now, if it isn't proprietary information, could you share what this looks like, what tools you'll use for this workflow?
Uh, sure. Like the thing is, this obviously leads into a sales pitch. That obviously this is a software that we have,
Hmm.
so we have it available to just use through our platform,
Okay.
which is I think you'll find it at mygrowthgarden.com. But the tech behind it is that we've connected with Get Sales, which is one of these automation tools for LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And then Get Sales has APIs, like API accesses to send messages. However, the whole setup that we've created is built on, like, you can imagine that you were to connect to like a HubSpot of your own
Hmm.
and have like all of the data from your HubSpot pipeline used to craft messages and to just make things tailored for yourself. And then the whole thing is that it isn't really an agent, or like possibly it is, like I don't really know since I haven't made it. Like I've just made the prompts for it. It's Harold, my partner, who set up the backend, but it's just prompt engineering at a different level. And prompt engineering in the sense where like as you're thinking of, William, I'm sure that that's a question which is on like you listening to this as well, is how do you make a prompt which is so complex that it can actually handle a conversation that has all sorts of different things that it can be thrown at, like it could be any type of message that comes in, and the answer is just context. And if you were to break it down, like I've just done this with AI. First of all, when I make any prompt, I just talk with AI about how I want the prompt structured, because it's just
Hmm.
smarter than me at this point. I've accepted that. And if you were to think of how do you create a prompt that handles all sorts of conversations, you need to give it the context of where it is placed and what the bird's eye view process that it is integrated into is, what type of business it is sitting within, what type of person it is representing, and you need extremely well documented scenario handling. So
Okay.
essentially, like what what phases are you trying to take the lead that you're talking to through, and what types of answers do you typically get? And in all of these scenario handlings, how do you handle it? Like what do you typically lean on? And that's not templated messages. That's more so a message which describes that, okay, yeah, we lead them in here. Here's an example with then personalized fields within these examples where uh, where you also want to just include in the bottom of it, like how do you actually type, like how do you write these messages? Because
Yeah.
if you just give that to it without any like toning or styling, it will write like it sounds like it is an LLM. But
Yeah.
the case is, it doesn't sound like an LLM if you do this properly. Like I
Hmm.
can live demo this
Yeah.
quickly.
I'm really interested because I'm sure there are people that do a lot of LinkedIn outreach. They're
Yeah,
able to automate the sequencing, but at the same time, they then have to hire a number of SDRs to handle
yeah,
replies, the short conversation leading up to booking a meeting or getting a sign up. And that part, if that part too can be automated, That would save
Yeah.
like folks couple thousands of dollars as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
for
could
sure. It's just
you could
you
share
don't
your
need.
screen if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just seeing, like, I'm trying to log in here. Yeah, things are a little bit rocky as it's set up right now, so I just need to see that it goes through. Ah, there we go. Get sales. I'll share my screen now.
Yeah.
Share screen. There. Okay, so let me just make sure that I'm on the right one here. Yeah. Connected. Is it? I might have to reconnect here. Okay. It seems like I might be on the wrong user right now, so I will just check in the background here if I'm able to get it up properly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening here. Like this is the thing where Harold, my partner, he's constantly here just building new variations to it, and
Yeah.
I don't know what is the current version or if I'm on the wrong URL or what it is, because now there was like some issue with loading things from the software that we've built on top of. But essentially, the way that it works right now, which is available for everyone that uses it, is that with the message that you get, then um, you're able to prompt responses from the AI model. And this is also another thing which I think is interesting for people, if there's anyone sitting and listening who are doing the same type of prompt engineering. If you look at the models that you can use right now, a lot of people are using 4.0 Mini for now because it's the most convenient one, like cost-wise. The best one that I've found for like sounding human and for the sake of costs is to use DeepSeek V3, like right now, that
Okay.
you run everything through that. Especially if it is small messages. It can't output long stuff, but if you want to automate like back and forth messages or make things sound human, then V3 is at the level which GPT-4o is at practically in terms of quality. But it's like 30% of the price or something like that to run it.
Okay. So cost efficient, and gives like comparable quality at least for the use case, which is handling like these replies, this human sounding replies, and this is DeepSeek V3.
Yeah, this is DeepSeek V3. Like when you look at what to set up, then like we use OpenRouter to decide between what models that we do, and then it's a continuous split test, like week to week, because the models are like ever changing. I saw like just now on LinkedIn that the cost of O3, like from OpenAI, was just cut dramatically, and
Yeah.
that obviously like creates another dilemma to look at. Like I don't know what the costs directly are there right now, but they're always changing, and yeah, just important to look at.
Yeah. So this is what you use Open Router to switch between models, right? So rather
Yeah,
than, and then you A/B test on it. What's the link
exactly.
to Growth Guardian? So we can put that in here as well.
Sure. Let me do so. mygrowthgarden.com. It should be straightforward. My growth garden. I'll send it to you in the chat here, William, and then you can add it.
I found it already. Super. Yeah. So if you want to know how this whole thing works, you ought to check out Growth Guardian. This is interesting. So you do speak to founders. I saw from your profile, like you speak to founders. You do some like coaching, advising, one-on-one
Hmm.
calls. How does that work? And from these calls, what do most founders miss, from your opinion, from what you've seen so far?
So the founders that I attract, at least through my LinkedIn, are people that are having like 1 out of 2 scenarios taking place. Number one is that they're just not generating leads for their B2B business. Number two is that they're just AI maximalists, or that they just want to understand more about how they can implement AI, because
Hmm.
there's so many like I see these ads all the time, and they hit it spot on, which is that there's so many people out there who are so into AI, but they don't really know any other tools than ChatGPT. But they really want to. They just can't
Yeah.
figure it out. So is one of these two scenarios that take place. And in any case, it's typically like the main thing which I can probably help with when a founder comes is to look at what are all of the pieces that they've done in their sales process up until now, and let's tie it together. Like, I think one of the most underrated ways of thinking about B2B sales and marketing is just like top, middle, and bottom of funnel. Like, not in the sense that you learn in university and stuff, like with the average things, but more so that the top of funnel is interchangeable parts where you just follow whatever is trending right now, whatever is working. Because as you know, if you've been in this for a long time, like 10 years ago, it was absolutely amazing to do LinkedIn outreach, for example, automated outbound on LinkedIn, because no one knew about it. 15 years ago, Facebook ads was an absolute gold mine. No one was using it, cost nothing. Like, the ROI that you got on it was ridiculous. Right now, LinkedIn organic, in my opinion, if you have a service which has some viral components in any sense, is incredible. But they always change. Like, some people still do Facebook ads, some people still do LinkedIn outbound. Like, I recommend a lot of people to do LinkedIn outbound and Facebook ads still, but you want to be able to change the top of funnel thing that you're doing based on what is working right now. But then when it comes to the middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, if you run a B2B business, you can standardize those like very easily. You just have one lead entry from the top of funnel that you change based on seasonality. And then the middle of funnel, for actually like staying on top of their world, is just like an email setup. It's a retargeting setup over Facebook, over Instagram, over Snapchat, TikTok, whatever that you want to target over. And the bottom of funnel is just that you need attribution among these nurturing software that you're using. And then you essentially have your B2B funnel. Like, that is what I end up like just showing and helping founders with typically, because they don't have that approach to it. They more so have the approach of, oh my god, like this is a new guy who just said that this is the best thing ever, it's going to solve all of my problems. And even if it does, it solves them for 6 months. But the thing is that it is always like, it's always based on seasonality. If you get like, if I sold you right now on LinkedIn organic will save your business forever, it probably will for the next 6 months. After that, it might be like really, really difficult to do, and only a handful of people who are able to do so. And if you don't have the back end, then it doesn't really matter. You're in the same cycle 6 months down the line. If you're on the flip side, learn that you can use LinkedIn organic right now. You can build this middle of funnel and this bottom of funnel right now. And then we sit on the front foot ready to change the top of funnel for when it doesn't work the same way. Then you actually have something which is sustainable. And that is what I teach people and what I implement with businesses.
That's something interesting that I haven't thought about, which is that you can have a more static or not easily modified middle and bottom of funnel, but more interchangeable top of funnel. And you mentioned something that I'm really interested in, which is virality and seasonality. How important is it that every service or a product has some element of virality in it, just so they can capitalize on it and build that top of funnel and just keep switching that out? Because I've seen a lot of products, even lovable in the region, to Cursor, the biggest products of today, even ChatGPT had to tag along and key into some element of virality. And with AI now, feels like every 2 weeks there has to be something viral. Some you have to key into it. If you don't, you miss out until the next one. How important do you think it is that everyone seeks out some virality in their product or service?
I think it depends on where you are in your journey. Like, for example, right now, I'm talking with a guy that I will likely be helping with his funnel from the summer and onwards, who does change management. If you do change
Hmm.
management, like the thing is that he's done that for decades, so he's not going to change up
Yeah.
and like build some AI like startup. It's just not his mode.
Yeah.
And if you already do like something which is way more heavy, he would probably argue that it's not boring. But again, he would also know that it's not boring like on his end. But
Yeah.
you're not going to go viral on LinkedIn or on TikTok talking about change management. Like it's just not going to happen. But if you've
Yeah.
already been in that boat, you're going to do so, and then you just need to look at what type of top of funnel thing can you add which doesn't rely on virality. Which, for example, email outbound, LinkedIn outbound, like it can work as long as you do it in the right ways. While if you're sitting right now and thinking, what is my business going to do? Or you have a business which is not really solidified, like to give you my perspective on it, I would not start a business again, like at the current point in my career, which doesn't have viral elements that I can play on. Because it's so much easier if you can play like the algorithms on LinkedIn if it's B2B, on TikTok if it is B2C, or on Instagram for that sake. But it's just if you're into AI, like first of all, just find something with AI that is already like interesting in something. Like any type of AI stuff is generally viral right now, as long as you don't
Hmm.
team it up with something which is super heavy or super boring in itself,
Yeah.
like AI
Change man.
finance or AI change management, AI like accounting. It can work since it's AI as a buzzword in there,
Yeah.
but it's not really that interesting. Like the biggest things right now, as we're seeing, is obviously like AI graphic design, AI videos. Like, and these things are the most viral stuff
Yeah.
right now. And if you can
Yeah.
play on that in any sense, like I onboarded a guy into Growth Garden just earlier today who does like AI visuals for jewelry brands, super viral. Like we'll get him to go far on LinkedIn quite fast. He could go far on other platforms as well, because it's just people want to see how they can make like these types of images, these types of videos, and how they can use it for themselves, because it's just so applicable. It's mass market applicable, and that's just
Yeah.
what's like typically very important when it comes to how to make something viral and how to play the algorithm. That most people who see it needs to have some sort of they need to be able to relate to it in some way. And if they can, then it's very accurate. If they do change management, then there's like a 0.0.1 percentage of the people who watch it will find it relevant, and it will be super
Hmm.
relevant for them, but it won't make the algorithm go crazy and push it to a mass market audience.
Yeah. Yeah. You did mention something I find very interesting, which is you wouldn't start a business today if it doesn't have
Mm,
some element of virality. Not
mm,
because you wouldn't try to solve a problem, but because it's just distribution is a lot easier when there's a
mm,
viral component to it. Like, oh, there's something that could go viral from it. And I really resonate with that. I think about it at night. I'm like, if I was going to start afresh, I
mm,
definitely would want to find something that's a lot easier to go to market with, or at least you could put in the same amount of effort you're putting in now with GTM, and you get a lot more results for
mm.
that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely true. You're going to say something.
Oh yeah, I was just saying like it's just easier if you've built up some sort of distribution. Like for myself, like one thing that I'm super thankful that I've done over the past 6 months is that I've built like a platform on LinkedIn. And
Hmm.
with that platform, then right now to validate ideas that I have, like I make LinkedIn posts about like prompts that I have, about processes, about ideas. And if a lot of people react to it, I know that there are viral potential here. And if they do, then I might bring that to my partner, and talk about how,
Hmm.
okay, can we make a software out of this, for example, because people have already shown interest in it. And then we can just keep doing the same types of promos over and over
Yeah.
and over. And then you
Oh, I
validate
see.
before you build, which is just super chill.
Yeah. Now this is interesting because the prompt, like keying into the prompt, which is an already like viral entity by itself, sharing
Yeah.
like useful prompts that people could relate to. That's also one way I feel like people that have traditional businesses, but are looking to have some viral moment could capitalize on. So find something that's already inherently viral and people are looking at, key into that, and then you could have you could manufacture your own, like your viral moment from that, and then translate whatever value you get from that to your product. Do you feel like that's some way? Because I'm thinking about how to help the the boring guys, the boring people with boring businesses at the moment.
Yeah, there's like it's easier for some than for others. Like prompts are definitely just an element which is viral and can help. But to use the example that I had of the friend of mine that is doing change management right now, it's really difficult for him, even if he makes a prompt about, or possibly it's a better chance than not doing a prompt around it to just
Yeah.
get some insights. But it's really difficult to make it sound very interesting that you can use this prompt to figure out like how the change in your industry is going to go or whatever. Like it's way more interesting than like go through this and you will like find the places where you can find
Yeah.
stuff, etc. But on the flip side, I have another client right now. His name is James. He runs, like, he's based in the UAE in Dubai, and he does like SOPs as a service essentially. So making standard procedures, and he's also using AI for a lot of things to optimize things. But essentially, it is SOPs, and his most viral posts that we've created have been about just prompts to like efficiently do the stuff that he's already doing in his services, because you just get a lot of distribution from it, and the people that are actually serious and that have the cash and like just the resources in place to pay for the services, they're not going to take a few prompts and just go with the prompts. They're going to want the this is the thing where people don't really get it, I think, when it comes to sharing stuff on like socials, is that if I share the best prompt that you've ever used, William, and you feel like you don't like you fire a team member as a result of the prompt that I shared, because that team member is now just like it's dead meat. Like you can do it with this prompt that I've made.
Yeah.
In that case, you're going to think like, holy shit, okay, I don't need a team member anymore. But what is happening inside of Lasse's brain? Like what is happening
I
there?
wouldn't
What
know.
other thing? Yeah, what other things can he do, or can he help with, or what other types of things can I do to improve the process that he just made me like fire a team member from? So there's always, if you're the mind behind the prompts that you share as well, and this is relevant for, as you say, like the older and the more boring guys who sit with the heavy businesses, that if you can make some prompts which are really good, which does most of your service, but just through prompts, then the real players who pay you good money, they're still going to want to talk to you about the stuff that you can provide, no matter if the
Yeah.
prompt solved a lot of the problems that you previously like have charged money to solve.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Definitely is. When you put out something for free, people use it, but they want the source. Like every smart person wants the source. They're like, how can I get more of this thing that saves me money?
Or
And
how
then
can it
that's
become
sort of,
better?
yeah, how exactly how can we become better? How can we do more of this? Save more valuable resources. I'm curious. It's just because I see we're coming up on time. This is a very fun conversation, but if anyone wants to get started in automation with sales, either with or without AI, what's a good starting point, especially for founders? Obviously, they check out Growth Garden, to get started with GTM in general, but for anyone getting in that mind space, because it's super easy to build now, but even more difficult to go to market, because those that are going to market before are doing it at 10x the capacity. So it feels
Yeah.
a lot more difficult to go to market. So how would you advise anyone that wants to go to market and they want to start with automation, because it can help them do more for less?
I would first look at, like, this might be I was just talking about James, my client, like this might be his question in the first hand. But for any type of automation, the thing which I think a lot of people who are outside of code and outside of just the tech, they think of automation as this holy grail of things. But automation, like a calculator, is a form of automation. It's like
Yeah.
simple tech that we've had for as long as we can remember, but it's simply put like a process that we had there before, and we can now have it done without human intervention. And if you want to look at how you can automate more things in your process, you need a process in the first hand. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
help you to start thinking about how can I automate my sales if you're not doing any sales right now. You need to
Yeah.
first figure out how you can do any sales. And then, as I talked about with our processes of building automatic inbox handlers on LinkedIn, doesn't matter for anything if you don't already have messages that you need to answer there and a sales process. So you need to look at what is the standard standard process that you have without automations where everything is manual, and then you work your way like backwards from there. You start looking at what parts can I automate. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many things that you're able to automate right now as a result of like if you're like not non-techy, learn how to use N8N. Like that's the furthest that I am able to get into tech for that sake as well.
Yeah.
I just know how to prompt. I learned how to use N8N because I know how to prompt ChatGPT to teach me stuff. And from there, like break the processes down. Like you can break your own processes down with ChatGPT in itself. Like just talk with ChatGPT about absolutely everything. And from there, like build things with N8N, use the OpenAI nodes that you have in N8N to create unique types of conditions that you can run things through. But again, like I think I become very technical when I go down that rabbit hole. But like the end advice that I could give to anyone that I talk to, especially when I've done like B2C info products where I'm trying to mentor people, is just treat ChatGPT like a hybrid between your children's school teacher and like a wizard in all sorts of things. Just
Yeah.
think of it as something that, especially now, like we talked about the different models, everyone has heard these things about, and ChatGPT still has it there. ChatGPT can make mistakes. It can, definitely. And a year and two ago, when you talked with it, it had limited capabilities to search the internet. It was based on 2021 or 2022 internet or something like that. Now you can use O4 Mini when you talk with it, and then you can ask it if you're building things in N8N, for example, and you need some API documentations, for example, to connect to whatever software. You can ask it to literally search across the API documentation and build the things for you, figure everything out for you. If you're trying to figure out how to use software, if you're trying to figure out how to learn N8N, if you're trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
out how to automate with whatever tool it is, just ask it to search across the web, look at YouTube videos, read the transcripts, figure it out, explain it to me. And then whatever it comes back with, if you go, oh, it's still too difficult, just literally talk with it, say, oh, it's still too difficult. I'm having troubles here. And it will fix it for you. It is ridiculous how far it has come. Like there is nothing
Yeah.
which is too difficult. You just got to tell it's too difficult. It will at some point start explaining it to
Yeah.
you like you're a dog if you say it's too
Yeah.
difficult, and you will understand. So it's just use the language models, just use the chats. Like
Yeah.
it will get you in all the directions that you want. And then use people like William, use people like me to actually get some guidelines on like what should you try to ask it to do for you, because it would just do all of the most random shit if you just like ask it to help you with stuff. But because it doesn't have that same, it's not as easy to make it go creative and to go at a really like macro level help you with how you should scale your business. But if you have a game plan, if you have to do's, if you have a process in place, for example, as we talked about right now, every type of like micro step on the way, you can just have it help you with, and you will figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I feel like the a key point to this I picked out is being curious. and just like
Yeah.
keep probing and probing and chasing curiosity and seeing what's possible, trying to like, if you feel like basically impossible is nothing, just keep asking and keep checking. But from a workflow perspective, first of all, building out a workflow manually. So having
Yeah.
messages that you want to automate, seeing what the process looks like manually end to end, then
Mm,
using ChatGPT as sort of like a sparring partner to get
mm,
out what like an automation workflow step could look like. So if I was
mm,
going to automate this, what are some of the steps I could take? And then take all these pieces, now that you've broken down your workflow into steps, take them into n8n, and using the chat GPT nodes there to reason, build
mm.
out the workflow there. That's how you would approach GTM workflow, or I think just about any GTM automation in general.
Yeah, so if you want to build it from scratch, and you want to do it yourself first and foremost, then I would, as you say, like you need to build the workflow that you use yourself, and then for
Mm-hmm.
every single thing that you want to automate, you can just talk with ChatGPT about how you want to automate it, and whether it makes sense to go and find, like you can ask it to do deep research as of finding software that can do some of the parts that you're looking for, or you can ask it for like how can we build the automation from scratch and then it then.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to do it yourself. Of course, a good no coder in N8N will be able to build a way better workflow than ChatGPT will still. It's probably not going to last for long, but it still does so. So if you face like really big problems in terms of how it works and stuff, then you need to find someone that can help you with it naturally. But
Mm-hmm.
to give you an example, I learned N8N and how to use it in 1.5 weeks last summer because Harold, my partner, was on vacation and I had a team to operate. So I needed to figure out how it worked. And I was just sitting with ChatGPT and sending it screenshots, sending it stuff, and writing, okay, this is an error message I get. Why does this happen? Like, I don't understand shit. Explain it to me like I'm five, etc. And all of a sudden, it starts making sense. You can ask it, okay,
Yeah.
I want to build this. Can we build this? Like, what are the step by steps that we need to go through? And it will just fix things for you as long as you give it the context.
Yeah. That is great. Use ChatGPT as a sparring partner and
Mm.
get shit done. That's what I
Yeah.
hear here.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much, Lasse. I see we're like way past time. I'm being careful, mindful of your time, but this has been amazing. I guess for anyone that's thinking about GTM, they want to go to market, they want to do it right, and you want to learn about these growth hacks that we're hearing, because I can imagine that you're building these hacks and these optimizations into your product as well. So do check out My Growth Garden. And if you have any questions, reach out to Lasse on on LinkedIn. Be mindful that he has 7 to 8,000 on red DM. So come correct if you're gonna send him messages. But yeah, any last words on your end, Lasse, before we call you the
No,
day?
it's been really nice being here, William. I appreciate the invite, and I hope people get some value from it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I personally got some value, and that being selfish. That's enough for me at the moment. So yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lasse, and that's today's episode of Everything Outside Code. Cheers.